talk about his company, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the largest mass houser in the Philippines, is the President and Chief Executive Officer of 8990 Holdings Inc. He's a 22-year, he has 22 years of business experience in the mass housing sector and is a private sector representative to the Housing Urban Development Coordinating Council. He was the 2001 to 2004 National President and Chairman of the Subdivision and Housing Developers Association. Without further ado, Mr. J.J. Atencio.
Thank you. So good morning, everybody. My name is JJ. I'm the CEO of House, and I just want to say that I'm very thankful to Dino and Mr. Lee for inviting us here. You know, one of the things about being a newbie stock is that sometimes it's very hard to gain access to the people that might be interested in your company. And so when we had a follow-on just last year, I made a commitment to our underwriters that I would be doing roadshows and meeting all sorts of people so that they can now get to understand what we do. And if there's anything that the story of 8990 Holdings or House will present to you this morning, it is that we are able to not only transform the company in the process, but we're also able to transform people's lives. And I guess for us, the story of House actually begins with a technical difficulty. So the story of House actually begins for the public on May 14, 2014, when we were able to now do a successful follow-on offering at the Philippine Stock Exchange, where we were able to sell 1.35 billion shares, representing 25% of House. That was equivalent to 9 billion that we raised at 6.50 per share, and the underwriters were UBS and SB Cap. I suppose that at this time, we were doing very well as a private company, and then we were having fun producing houses and selling them to our target market. But I guess there comes a time in the evolution of a company or a business that you are building when you just need to have the courage enough to take the next step. And the next step for us, in a way that transforms the company in so many ways that you can ever imagine. And personally, it has even transformed me when I, as the CEO of a private company, decided to take the challenge and we became public. And I guess that for a lot of businesses, and especially House, that move from being private to being public now allows us to actually grow our business more so that we can keep on transforming our business and we can also continue transforming people's lives. Now, in the process of our follow-on, we were able to get two cornerstone investors. We were able to get Khazanah Nasional Berhad, who bought 8% of the company. Khazanah Nasional Berhad is the sovereign fund of Malaysia. The nice thing about them is that they've always been in the Philippines and they were wanting to invest for the first time in a local company. But they had two requirements. They had first the earnings requirement, but second, they were looking for a company that they wanted to invest in that was also transformational in nature, or that contributed significantly to social and Philippine progress. The second company was Texas Pacific Group, which was the third largest company or private equity in the United States, based in Houston. They also bought 8%. Now, these companies and also the foreign and local funds that invested in House, they were interested and they were looking at the following things. First, our track record, and then our business model, our ownership and management, our socio-economic impact, our supply and demand dynamics, or what is normally called, what the size of the market is, and then what kind of risks our business was facing. And this is what they liked about House. They liked our growth in earnings, our innovation, our expertise, the way that housing, especially in our sector, which is mass housing, which is able to transform the lives of ordinary working class Filipino citizens. They like the fact that we can be scalable. In fact, even up to today, our cornerstone investors are still trying to convince us to go to Indonesia, to Malaysia, to Vietnam, to start 8990 there. But we're saying that even in the Philippines alone, the market for mass housing is already too large. And maybe in the next 10 years, we can now talk about it again. And of course, the long-term sustainability of the business, precisely because there is such a huge demand for mass housing products and services. One of the things that they really liked about the company was that housing has become part of what they call to be the Philippine growth story. And it cannot be denied anymore that our country has been growing by 5, 6, or 7% for the past 10 years. And this has been largely due to many factors. And one of them is the growth of a middle class that we're now actually looking to buy property because of increased disposable income. And so, in the minds of the funds, as a company is able to be part of the Philippine growth story, then the earnings will be assured as it goes on and promotes its business. This is basically the 10-year story of House. We started in 2004 with a gross revenue of 189 million pesos. And I still remember those times when I thought that life was very simple. But we actually started growing from 2004. We actually were based in Cebu. As much as is common to mass housing developers, they tend to be small or medium-sized. They tend to be geographically located. And so our competition at that time was basically Cebu-based developers more than anything else. But we had opportunities to actually go to Davao, and then we started the second branch there. That was in 2007. By 2009, we were already doing projects in Luzon, in Angeles City, and then we moved to the south of Metro Manila in Cavite. And then after that, we actually went back to Visayas and started our fourth branch in Iloilo. And then this year, we started a new branch in General Santos City. And so we have such a nationwide exposure or a nationwide presence, and that now makes us probably the largest mass housing developer in the country with more than 30,000 homes built. When we started in 2004, our gross revenue was 189 million. Today, we're looking at 7.9 billion. It is a growth of 41 times in 10 years. But the important thing is, as we're doing the business, we should have fun. And even when we're trading, I think that one of the things that we need to do is we have to have happy trades. We have to have fun while trading. Otherwise, I don't know, it might be worthwhile to do something else that brings you happiness. Now, we received also many awards, and this is one of the, I think, my most favorite award, which is given by HLURB. When you're given an award by your regulator, that should make you happy. And then he said that we were the developer with the most number of subdivision units licensed under BP 220, which was the mass housing law, for the period 2011 to 2013. And this is why we're saying that probably 8990 or House is the largest mass housing developer in the country today. We've received also other awards. I can't show them all, but I'll show some. We received the National Productivity Council Award We have Biz News Asia for Real Estate Who's Who. We have many awards from Pag-ibig Fund. The most recent was the 2014 Top Developer Award that gave us number 2 top developer of the Philippines under Pag-ibig housing loan programs. We actually got another award from Biz News Asia with Entrepreneur of the Year. We've received the Home Guarantee Corporation Citation Award for our advocacy towards mass housing. And one of my favorites is my association gave us an appreciation award last month. But all of this now comes at the backdrop of how we do as a business. And in very simple terms, compared to 2013 audited, 8990 Holdings income increases by 52%. And so we have 2014 gross sales meeting its guidance. It's 48% higher than last year. Our net income of 3.3 billion increased by 52%, and it surpassed our guidance for 2014. Our net margin is actually one of the strongest points why the foreign funds just love house. It is because we have maintained throughout the 10 years that we have been in business a gross margin of at least 60% and a net margin of at least 40%. You know, when I was doing road shows abroad, one of the most favorite expressions was, 40%. That's unbelievable. I just can't believe it, the funds were saying. But what we're saying is that this is really, if you're really good at what you do, especially in housing, then it should be attainable to get these margins consistently. I'd like to introduce you to the people behind 8990. And since I'm the youngest, I get to be the face of 8990. But actually, there's 3 partners. And we've been friends for so long. Mr. Yu, on the right side, is our chairman and emeritus and founder of 8990. He has more than 33 years of experience in mass housing. Mr. Yu is an AIM graduate, and he is the first AIM graduate to be graduated in that school who did not have an undergraduate degree in business. So after him, AIM changed its policy to allow students without a business degree to actually attend that management school. So more than 33 years in business. The gentleman on my right is Mr. Mariano Martinez, also a veteran mass housing developer for more than 33 years. He used to be a LaSalle brother. And so his code of ethics, his governance is very strict, and we like that. And he is now our chairman of the company. Myself, I come in with a little less experience. I only have about 23 years in this industry. And I am the CEO only because I'm the youngest, and they think that if you're young, you have to work harder to get your money. But one of the things that we really like about this partnership is that we share the same vision. And, at the end of the day, the objective of our business is not to make money, because we feel that if you are closer to attaining your vision, then your profits will come as a good byproduct. And this is the vision that we have. And it is basically that housing goes beyond just building physical houses. Okay, it's about transforming people's lives. It's about transforming people's lives. It's about the people that buy from us, the people that sell for us, those that work for us, those that supply us, and now today, the people that invest in us and that believe in the vision that we have. One of the most significant stakeholders of our company is our buyers. And our buyers belong to that 5 million in unserved housing demand that's growing at 5% a year. Just for statistics, last year in 2013, the total building supply of mass housing only reached 330,000. And so there is a huge market, okay, and we are part of an association that sees it as our commitment to slow down or if not decrease the housing backlog of this country. This market has three major values. They are deeply aspirational, but they are practical, and they are optimistic about their future. Our market is young, they are college educated, they have gainful employment. The family earns at least 35,000 pesos a month. Now, unfortunately, mass housing, the way we do it under house, unfortunately, is not housing for the poor. But it is housing for the ordinary working people of the country. You know, these are your accounting staff. These are your drivers. We have some who are licensed accountants, engineers, physical therapists. These are the people that actually man your department stores. These are the people that go into IT and man your BPO. They're all young, they're all college educated, but they're renters. And therefore, they are deeply aspirational and they want to move towards a better station in life, which is asset owning. One of the realizations we have is that this market, even if they have cash flow, they have little or no savings. Let's just go now very briefly to our business model. Now, the business model of 8990 or House can be described in 4 adjectives. It is different, it is holistic, it is synergistic, and it is innovative. And there's basically 3 aspects to our business model. First, we want to build our construction fast. Second, we want to have accessible housing finance. And third, because we can build the units fast and we can have an in-house financing program that allows our buyers to move in as quickly as we build the units, we have to make sure that they pay on time, and therefore we have a proactive and stable, comprehensive credit and collection platform. Let's just go through what a typical development looks like. That's the piece of land. And then we actually do planning and titling and permits. And then once we get those permits, we can now transform this by putting land development. And then after that, we can actually do house construction. And then after that, we can actually have amenities such as entrance, gates, barangay halls, public basketball courts. We have a church, a commercial area, and then we will have our clubhouse, our swimming pool, our wakeboard parks, and this will be our third, our basketball court. We will have a lot of basketball courts. I'm probably the owner of more than 100 basketball courts in the country. And then all this so that we can provide housing for 100 square meter lots, 35 square meters house, single attached, 2 bedrooms starting at 940,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I just received the sign that my time is up. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. If you have any questions and you'd like any more information, just feel free to get to me. I have an email as well, and then I will respond to you and your questions there. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for the presentation, JJ.
Thank
Start
you.
with the Q&A. So what do you think is your edge over other low-cost mass housing developers?
I think our edge over other low-cost mass housing developers is this. Number one, we've got economies of scale. We do 10,000 units a year. And then we plan to increase that by 20% every year thereafter. One of the things about economies of scale is that you can now average your costs down, making your costs even more competitive compared to your competitors. So that's one. Number two, we have amenities that are not common for mass housing or local subdivisions. We have 3 wakeboard parks. We put in swimming pools, clubhouses, etc. And then our business model is also an edge. As I showed in the slides, there are 3 components. And these are the 3 components that have to be present in any mass housing developer business. Okay, you've got construction. And we've got one of the fastest construction technologies that we have devised throughout the years. I can make a house in as fast as 8 days. And then you've got housing finance. Okay, we've developed in-house financing that has a 2% down payment, that has the lowest interest terms in the industry, and the longest 25-year terms compared to our competitors' in-house finance. And lastly, and most important for me, is that we have a proactive and comprehensive credit and collection program.
Okay. Earlier on, you showed how margins are, you have a net margin of 40%. So is this common for low-cost property developers, or is that also an edge or one of the things
I
you
think
have?
what's common in the industry would be in the average of about 30. And then if you're good at really averaging your costs down and having economies of scale, then you can now have higher margins. One of the things about our construction methodology is that we use precast. And the nice thing about precast is that it lends itself to economies of scale. One of the things about economies of scale is that you're able to comprehensively and regularly determine the exact quantities, thereby minimizing losses. Because we have economies of scale, I can now go direct to manufacturers and promise them my inventory, and therefore I get lower prices than other competitors who would actually go to maybe wholesalers, dealers, or retailers.
Okay, can we go to the next question, please? Okay, what's your take on the supposed property oversupply issue?
Meron ba?
Well, we'd like to see your take.
Property oversupply. Okay, as I said, it cannot be denied anymore that this country is growing. And what that means is that the businesses are earning, and therefore their businesses are growing, and therefore they're hiring more people who's going to have more paychecks. And then all of this is now going to be used for consumption. Now, the business sector knows this, and therefore the inventory for housing, okay, it has been going up. But has it been going up to a good level? As I said, there's a 4 million backlog in affordable housing. This is a HUDCC and NEDA figure. If you talk to the chairman of the Congress Committee on Housing and the Senate Committee on Housing, their estimate is actually much higher. And so, is there an oversupply? I guess not. Because our problem now in the industry is how to encourage developers to actually produce more, so that the housing backlog will now be lower.
Yeah, I guess the question is, are you actually experiencing any slowdown in demand that would result from, say, an oversupply or a downward pressure in price?
One of the things about housing as a product is that it's really geographically limited, di ba? Kasi if I have a project in Cebu, I do not expect people from Metro Manila to actually buy my product. And so it's geographically centered. So for as long as there is a housing backlog in that area or in that region or in that city, then the business metrics are played out for you. Diba? How you actually market your product, how you get the customers in through pricing, location, promotion, is already part of your business model. And so the question is, am I experiencing a slowdown in sales? No. Actually, and one of the things is that Deca Homes has become an accepted brand in the places where we are. In fact, we're trying to expand to like General Santos City as well, because we think that there's already enough density of people to warrant a mass housing project.
Okay, next question, please. Okay, so it seems that your buyers are dependent on affordable financing for purchasing homes. Do you think there's a threat that funding from Pag-ibig will dry up and that requirements will become stricter, especially come 2016 with a change in administration?
Is there a threat that funding from Pag-ibig will dry up? No, because all of us who are working are contributing X amount of pesos every month to Pag-ibig Fund. In fact, it's got the cheapest source of funds for housing, Pag-ibig. That is contributions from members, and the cost is zero. And so no, in fact, the problem of Pag-ibig is this. They've been budgeting about 50 billion pesos every year. The closest that they have gotten to is 46. And so they need to spur more and more, encourage more and more developers like me to go back to Pag-ibig Fund. Will it become stricter, especially with the expected change in the administration? My personal take on this is that going towards 2016, you will see a more Pag-ibig member-friendly and a more developer-friendly policy of Pag-ibig Fund. Now, after that, I think after that, we will have more issues to worry about than just Pag-ibig Fund, because the entire government bureaucracy after 2016 has changed. But you know, I've been a housing developer for more than 20 years. I've been through so many Pag-ibig presidents. I've been through so many Republic of the Philippines presidents. And sometimes I feel na, you know, the more you change something, the more it kind of remains the same. Diba?
Yeah. So I guess the question is, I think it's 2% down payment.
Yes.
And then how long does it take for Pag-ibig to release the funding? Or I guess the worry is you will, iba, these people, they cannot afford to be renting and waiting. You know, they're not like the high end, they can wait for a long
That's
time.
right. And that's why I only have a 2% down payment, which is like innovative in the entire industry. And I've also done nothing this year, but talk to developers, go to developers forums and tell them, you know, you should try this, right? And then, why 2%? Because to us, 2% means nothing, di ba? That's probably just one trade, okay, in the stock, di ba? One buy and one sell, okay? But, you know, to the market that we're trying to serve, 2% is equivalent to 1 month's salary. So, can you imagine if I ask you now to invest in an asset, and the requirement I'm telling you is give me your 1 month salary, then you will see that it's not about the amount. It is about the value that one attaches to the 2% that makes all the difference.
How long does it take for Pag-ibig to release the funds right now?
Prior to 2011, it was 7 days. Kasi there was this program that was that grew Pag-ibig in the year 2000 from 5 billion to 50 billion by the end of 2010. And then the administration changed. And so at that time, it was 7 days takeout. So that's why we developed our technology to take advantage of that 7-day cash conversion cycle that Pag-ibig was giving. That's why we have a technology that can build as fast as 8. So binigyan ko na ng 1 more day grace period yung Pag-ibig. And then after that, it became 6 months. And then we say 6 months, di ba? We might as well close. Parang di ba? Sell in May, and then that's it for the day. Parang ganon, di ba? But we said we will either do Pag-ibig or do in-house finance. And so that's what we did. Today, I'm going back to Pag-ibig. I am pledging 5 billion of my income of my guidance for 2015, 50% I'm going back to Pag-ibig. Because now I can see they have now decreased their processing time to 5 weeks. And then I feel that going to 2016, they're going to reduce it even further.
Okay, that's good news. At least we have best case 7 days, worst case 6 months. Do you
6
think
months.
it's gonna go back to 6
And then
months?
now, because I have my in-house financing, diba? If Pag-ibig slows down, then I can just move my buyers towards my financing. If something happens in the BSP or in the banking sector, making it difficult there, then I can now move my clients to Pag-ibig Fund, diba? And so I think that House is only the developer I know who has strong relationships with both housing finance sectors, the government through Pag-ibig and the banking sector through our accredited banking partners.
Okay, next question, please. Okay, related to sa pinag-uusapan natin, what's the company's views about the central bank's move to limit bank sector lending to the real estate sector? Are you affected by this?
Well, what the banks that we are partners with are keep on reassuring us that we have nothing to worry about. What they're saying is that interest rates are still going to be stable as far as we're concerned, etc. So please don't look for other banks. Parang ganun yung message. But in spite of that, yes, we are concerned about the BSP moves, and that is why for 2015 we have decided to do a 5 billion corporate bond offering that will stabilize our interest rate borrowings. This is a 5 billion corporate bond with a green shoe or an over allotment of another 4. And so when we're able to do that, then I can say that the finances of 8990 House will become stable and not subject to central banks' move towards lending to the private sector.
When your buyers say buy a house from you and then it goes to bank financing, is it considered like in-house financing, or do the banks lend directly to your buyers?
Yes, what our arrangements with the bank is this. I can now get my buyers under my own in-house finance. And then they will do either of two things. They will either extend us a bridge financing loan, or they have the option to purchase our receivables. And then we have a small portion, but it's really very small, that my buyers go direct to the banks. And that's really one of the reasons why I think we have a mass housing backlog, because the banking sector is now only recently becoming more open to providing banking services in housing loans to this sector. This sector has long been ignored. And so the housing finance partner of our sector is really the Provident Fund. But because Provident Fund became strict, diba, after 2011, the only choice we had to continue building units and providing these units to our buyers is to go in-house finance. So but the signals of the banking sector to me are getting better every day. They're now open to partnering with us to extend direct financing to our buyers. They're becoming more comfortable with the fact that the market for mass housing is actually a bankable market. It's not a poor market. Diba? And then you notice that in business, there's already a lot of products that actually are now catering to this market segment. And this market segment, which I call the middle class, lower middle class segment, is fast becoming the backbone of our economy.
Yeah, just a last question related to that. I guess the banks are a bit concerned about non-performing assets. So can you share with us your experience as to the non-performing assets or NPL levels that you've experienced with these buyers?
Okay, my NPL, or rather my rate of default, is 5%. Okay, so I have a 95% collection efficiency. And I will give you an interesting insight. Okay, when we do the demographics of our defaulting buyers, we found it interesting that the higher the income of our buyer, the greater the chance that he will default.
Why is that?
Diba? Parang, baka naman mali lang yung accounting department, diba? Paki-check nyo nga ulit yan. No, but then when we study the data, it is this. Number one, we have fully vetted our client. I mean, he passes through an affordability and credit evaluation structure, which is really more strict. Why? Because I'm carrying the liability and risk. I'm not going to risk getting buyers that are, kind of shaky when it comes to affordability. So what I'm just saying is this. When you become a buyer of house, I've already checked you out. You can pay this, okay? And so when we look at defaulting, I notice that, I don't know if it's Filipino culture or maybe human nature. But as I said, because there are now disposable incomes from everybody across the social pyramid, I guess if you have a little more money in your wallet, you may want to buy everything. Diba? And so our collection platform is actually geared towards making sure that the buyer always understands why it is important for him to invest in a property that is his primary asset, and that where his children are going to live, grow under this roof, and what the consequences are when suddenly you don't pay a monthly amortization and we have to cancel your account, and then where will you live? One of the things we always stress in our credit and collection platform is this, and this is what makes us different, is that it's a credit and collection platform, but its objective is not to collect. And then when I told this to my developer friends, they said, "What? Didn't you just contradict yourself, Jay?" Sabi ko, hindi. Kasi if the objective of the collection effort is to collect, then as my base grows, my customer base grows, then my collection agents will actually grow. But, di ba, it's about behavior modification. If you're able to change the behavior of your buyers through seminars, education programs, penalties, benefits, and it's a comprehensive way, then they will now begin to understand not only what they have to pay, but why they have to pay. And once they understand why they have to pay, how many collection people do I need? 0. And so that's why we are, 95% collection efficiency. And that is a gauge of how effective our behavior modification policies have actually become implemented.
Okay, that's all the time we have for Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, April, and thank you, guys. See you soon.